I'm Joy Moyler, international interior designer, design columnist, amateur photographer, sketch hound, travel lover, and all-around lover of life. Welcome to High Tea with Joy, where great company is always in fashion, as we chat with world-class style makers and trendsetters from a broad spectrum in design, food, fashion, and the arts. Some you will know, others will be new introductions. So grab a cozy elixir and join us as we brew it, pour it, spill it. Welcome to High Tea with Joy, where great conversation is always in fashion. Our guest today is Mr. Alvin Clayton, model, restaurateur, artiste. Thank you, Alvin, for joining us.
Thank you, Joy. And I knew I had to up my game coming with you, the style extraordinary woman. So
Hardly, but I'll take it. So let's get into it. Alvin, how did you start your modeling career? What led you to it?
So a friend of mine that I went to college with always thought that I could probably model. He was with the Wilhelmina Modeling Agency. And so he would model there during the summer. And whenever he came back, he would say, listen, man, I think you could model. And so I kind of took him up on his offer, came to New York, met the Wilhelmina Modeling Agency, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, I mean, I've been familiar with your modeling career for years. You're having graced many, many magazines that I've grown up with. Not to say that you're old, I'm sorry. I think I'm older than you are, but you know what I mean. I've seen a lot of your work over the years, and you were definitely one of the first black models out there who were really changing the game on all of that. What was that like?
Thank you so much. I mean, I've actually been very blessed. I had a very successful modeling career, especially at a time when it was very difficult for models of color to be in the industry. But, there are people whose shoulders I've stood upon, and, Renault White is one of them, Rashid Silvera. Those were guys that I had seen when I was in high school, like modeling. And, obviously, if they didn't do the correct things to lay the groundwork for us, we wouldn't have that opportunity. So I feel very blessed. Like the late 80s, early 90s, I was that guy that was kind of like featured in a lot of the publications. So I feel blessed for that.
I love that, and you definitely paved the way for, like the Tyson Beckfords and that sort of thing. And I'm always grateful for one of my wonderful things every day, my daily pleasures, I should say, when I worked at Ralph Lauren, was having Tyson Beckford's face all over the place, and that would sometimes get me to work on time. So thank you to your talents as well, having led those days. So you are also an incredible and successful entrepreneur and restaurateur. We're here at Alvin and Friends, your wonderful restaurant here in Westchester, New York, which serves some good stuff. Thank you for the calories. So tell us about that migration from modeling to
having been a model for as many years as I have been, you have to kind of figure out, okay, what is your next step going to be? And a friend of mine, rest her soul, she passed away recently, but she was considered like my GQ wife, Gail O'Neill.
Oh, yeah.
She was like a lovely, lovely person. But Gail had asked me one time what I wanted to do after modeling. And I said, you know what, I know how to cook, because from the time I was 8 years old, I was cooking in the kitchen with my grandmother in Trinidad. And so I knew how to cook. I love restaurateuring because I worked as a waiter when I first started modeling. So I said, maybe I'll open a restaurant. It so happened that her boyfriend at the time, a restaurateur by the name of Brad Johnson, his father had owned a cellar in Manhattan. Brad was getting ready to open a restaurant in LA, and Gail introduced me to Brad. We had a meeting. He took a liking to me and asked me if I'd like to invest in their project, and I did. It was called Georgia, which was a celebrity-based restaurant with celebrities including Debbie Allen, Norm Nixon, Denzel Washington,
Who?
Eddie Murphy. Denzel Washington, I know. Everybody wants to know Denzel, right? So No, but it was a celebrity-based restaurant on Melrose that did very well, and that's kind of how I got into it. That was open for 7 years. We had a great run. We didn't buy the building. The building was sold from under us. Thus, we had to vacate because the new deal wasn't such a great deal. And so that's when I moved back to the East Coast and I opened Alvin and Friends here in New Rochelle 14 years ago.
Wow,
Yeah.
14 years already. That's
Yes.
great. Well, it's always packed and crowded, but so that's definitely a wonderful, wonderful thing to be able to say after all of these years.
Yeah. No, we've been very blessed. I mean, part of the whole thing about, hospitality is taking care of people, right? And so having the food that people want and giving them the environment and the service that they want is also a plus. And we've been very blessed here. The New York Times gave us a great 4 to 4 stars when we first opened. And then we kind of just blew up. Westchester Magazine, which is like the premier magazine here in Westchester, they have the best of the best each year. And I think we've won like 13 out of 14 years that we've been around, the best Caribbean and Southern restaurant. So it's a testament to what we do here. And we've had we have a great restaurant as far as diversity. It's really a cut of America. Like people from all walks of life come here. And the one great thing that they have is the comfort of being in a great space. And we're one of the few restaurants in Westchester also that we have jazz. We have live music on Fridays and Saturday nights, and we have a jazz brunch every Sunday. So we add a bit of flavor. So it's almost like being in Manhattan without having to be in Manhattan, which is great for people that most of them move from Manhattan to be here in Westchester.
It's true. And when I'm here, I always feel like I'm at someone's home, which is, such a nice feeling. You don't feel like you're getting a cold service. It's always, you're always greeted warmly. The food is fantastic. I may have stayed for a little shaking of the tail feathers a little bit too, because why not? Which is great. So, what are the challenges, if there are any, that you've experienced over the years?
Well, just to jump on what you said with the way feeling warm and like you're in somebody's home. That was the feel that I wanted to get for the restaurant. So, Alvin and Friends. It really is like I look at the guest that's coming here as friends, and so I go. If I'm here at the restaurant, I go to every table and greet every guest. And my staff, they know my level of hospitality, and they pass that down. It's a lot of younger people that work for us, but they get that level of hospitality. So some of the challenges that we have in the restaurant industry is that, it's very transitional. So a lot of kids that work for me, they're college students or whatever, so they transition out. So to find that level of hospitality to bring it in after one person is left is sometimes a challenge. The industry is always changing. Weather, there's a lot of different things that can affect the restaurant industry. And Westchester is very different than Manhattan, whereas in Westchester, in Manhattan, if it snows or whatever, everybody's within walking distance of restaurants. Out here, people drive, so it can really shut down the industry. But I try to take it, one day at a time, take the good with the bad. And, like I said, 14 years standing in a restaurant is a good thing. It's a blessing.
So your other passion, as we could well see, is art. So have you always been an artist? Is this something that flourished over time as a way to relax? How did that come about?
So being born in Trinidad, at the time that I was born, pre-internet and all those different things, you couldn't tell your parents you wanted to be an artist.
Oh boy,
So
oh boy.
that's something that I've always had. I grew up, I loved art. I'm not sure where the passion for it came from, but I've always loved art. And so I would always draw. I had a cousin that was like actually really very talented artist. And I would ask him questions. How'd you do that? I'd kind of try and replicate stuff that he had, and just always drawing flowers, drawing back then there was a magazine called Right On Magazine.
Oh my God! Oh my
We're
God!
dating ourselves.
Oh, we
We're dating
are. Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah. Oh,
But-
I think I saw that like in the archives at the library.
Yeah, and like Michael, we were all big fans of Michael Jackson back then because here a black kid that was probably the age that we were doing these amazing things. So I would draw Michael Jackson and the covers of the magazines and stuff like that. But I always kept that passion in me. And fast forward, I'm modeling and I'm in Paris and I go to Musée d'Orsay and I see the work of Matisse. And it was the first time that I'd seen Matisse's work. And it just blew me away. The colors were very reminiscent of the colors that I grew up with in the Caribbean. My grandmother had, like this painting behind me, which is actually a replica of after my grandmother's house, had patterns everywhere in the Caribbean. You had, the tablecloths with the patterns on it. You had the linoleum floor with the patterns on it, flowered. So
Pattern play.
Yeah, so when I saw Matisse's work, I was like, I want to do this. And so for 6 months, I bought the oil paints and everything else, and I just started painting, copying Matisse's work. And for some reason, I had a knack for it. It wasn't perfect, but I was able to translate what I wanted to put out on the canvases. And so I said, wow, and just the process of painting was like incredible. I mean, it took me to like another place in a zone.
So you're a self-taught artist?
I'm a self-taught artist.
That blows my mind because I went to art school and I can't draw a face to save my life. I couldn't do a portrait of any capacity, so that just blows my mind.
So I just copied his work for like 6 months, and then after I said, you know what, I want to paint black people like this. And so I started painting family members and friends, and I just kept doing it. I painted for like 2 years, and I never showed anyone the paintings. I had a loft on 10th Street and 2nd Avenue. And the walls were adorned with all of the art. And one of my agents came, I invited her to dinner. She came and she saw my work, and she was like blown away by the work I'd done.
Wow.
And she had a friend that had a gallery in Soho, Lee Arthur Gallery, and she said, my friend, I'd like for her to take a look at your work. She came to my house, to my loft, saw the work, and she decided to give me a show. I did my very first show with her, and we did really well. Yeah, so Lee Arthur does my first show for me, and we showed 27 pieces. We got 19 pieces sold within 2 weeks. And then Elsa Clench, that used to do CNN House of Style, was doing a segment featuring successful models, and I happened to be one of her stories. And while she was doing the story on me, it was while my art show was at Lee Arthur's studio, and she covered that as part of the story. And thus, the career as an artist started, because people started calling all over, finding out where they can buy my paintings.
Wonderful. So you would call that maybe one of the proudest moments of your art career?
That was one, but I've been blessed enough to, Deborah Willis, who was a curator at the Smithsonian before it was in the permanent building that it is now. It was at Anacostia in DC. She came to Los Angeles, and she was doing a show called Locating the Spirit, Spirituality in African American Art. And she actually chose one of my pieces to be in the show at the Smithsonian. And so that was like probably one of my proudest moments in art. And then subsequently to that, living in Los Angeles, my work has been featured in several films. The Gail Diva Story, Johnson's Family Vacation, and lately Malcolm Lee's The Best Man Holiday featured quite a few of my art pieces as well.
Lovely. So what's typically some of the subjects in your artwork? What motivates you to paint?
So generally life in general, and I love painting family members and friends, things that actually mean something to me. My art is very personal, and I'm very multifaceted. I mean, I change. I love jazz. I love dance. I love song. I love people. And so I incorporate all those things. So I would go through a phase where I would paint like jazz pieces, and then I would be, okay, I feel like doing dancers, so I paint dancers. Or I listen to a news story and something affects me politically, and I need to talk about that. Previously to the George Floyd situation, though, I stayed very quiet. It was almost like being stifled with my political views.
Did you feel that they wouldn't be received well? Is that part of the angst?
Not that it wouldn't be received well. I just I'm that person that really don't particularly like to rock the boat. You know, my being as a person is about making people feel happy and comfortable, and I think that's probably why I'm so suited to the restaurant industry, because I do genuinely want people to be comfortable and to have a great experience. However, I think that there are times when, you know, especially if you're an artist, you have to be a voice. You have to be, and you should be recognized. Everybody should be able to have a voice. I mean, that's what America is, right? The land of the free. And we should be able to be expressive if it's not being in a detriment to others. And so I feel like after the George Floyd situation, that my work went into a phase where I had something to say and I was about to say it unapologetically. And so the work has changed where political pieces have now come into the being of my work.
Does that create more of a heavy kind of environment for you to paint, and some of the sort of familial sort of imagery goes away because that's so deep in you, the political situation?
So when the one thing is when I am painting, I'm totally in a zone, and it's cathartic, and it releases stuff for me. So I can be that person that's jovial in many ways, because I don't keep this pent up energy into me. I have something to say, and it's set on canvas. And so we keep moving and we do that, and and then I feel that I need that space where, okay, it's enough, so now I need to be refreshed and to do something beautiful, and I would create a beautiful piece. And so there's a balance, just as in my life.
So what's inspiring you right now, other than the political sort of state? What do you think about? Where do you want to go? What's your travel destination to sort of unleash the joy inside of you?
You know what? That's an interesting question, because when I lived in Los Angeles, which was a beautiful place, it just was very like beautiful weather all the time. And it was nice, but it wasn't a perfect setting for me. And when I moved back east, it was much more in line with how I feel as a person. I love looking forward to things and change. I love the change of seasons. So right now, it's like, you know, we're coming out of winter a bit, and we're getting ready to go into spring. And so the sunlight coming out and the buds breaking out of the ground, that's inspiring to me. So I have these paintings that I'm doing now of, like, you know, spring is on its way. And so that's like really important for me to have that change. And, you know, hopefully before the year is out, I'll get to go down to the Caribbean somewhere and visit my family.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah. So I think I'm always looking for how can things be better? How can we be optimistic? We're in peril times right now. What can we do to make that better, and to motivate people, and to kind of get them into an awareness that our humanity is much more important than the negativities that we sometimes engage in.
What's your favorite beverage to serve here at the restaurant?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say the Alvin's famous rum punch.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, that rum punch. I think I've been flat out like this from the rum punch a few times. That rum punch will knock you off your feet onto your booty.
I'm the only one that makes that rum punch too. So, so people, if for some reason I have to go away or whatever, and they run out of it, people are really upset, because it's our #1 selling drink here, and it has that feel. It says, welcome to the islands, you know. I have a funny story that I tell people. So that guy that we talked about earlier, that Denzel guy.
Yeah, yeah.
He actually bought a couple of my paintings, and he came over to my home one time. And he's like, Alvin, I'm in a big rush. I got this to do. I got that to do. And I just made a batch of rum punch because my wife had a friend visiting, and I offered some to Denzel. And 3 hours later, he was still at our house.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's like park the car, don't plan to go anywhere, pretend it's a snowstorm.
So, yeah, no, but that rum punch, but we also have the, you know, to be evenly spread out, we do have the Jamaican rum punch as well, which is made with the Ray and Nephew. And that one actually, the Alvin rum punch is more Trinidad style. And it's very smooth tasting, and it catches up on you. The Jamaican rum punch, right away when you taste it, it's very aggressive.
You hit the floor. Start the car! Start the car! You gotta get home.
Yeah, but no, but we have a lot of wonderful cocktails. People love the coconut martini. Yeah, so but the rum punch is one of the #1 sellers.
Sounds great. Fantasy dinner party, living or dead, who would you have to your dinner party?
That's, you know, okay, living, I would definitely want to have Barack Obama. I think Barack Obama is like such a positive role model, and, you know, he had two terms in office, and there's still no dirt on him, so he must have been really clean.
Other than that beige suit.
Exactly.
Can you imagine a beige suit that stopped the world?
Yeah, so I would love to be with the Obamas for dinner. I think dead, I would be Nelson Mandela. Yeah, Nelson Mandela. And I actually was and so is my wife, a big Michael Jackson fan. I think it would be interesting for a different perspective to have a dinner with him.
Jim on it, Jim on it.
Come on.
Jim, come on, Jim on it, Jim on it.
I think we better quit, Joe.
Yeah. Exit stage left on that one.
All the camera crew just ran out.
Yeah, exactly. Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. Start the car. Start the car. Yeah. Check. What model agency are you with right now? Are you doing any modeling work that you're excited about?
So a few years ago, I'd quit the modeling and for like about 7 years. And then I had a show that Iona College did for me during the pandemic called Unapologetically Me, and it was all my political pieces. There were 23 pieces, which was received really well. It passed around, and I think it went viral for a while there. And I was reached out to by IMG Modeling Agency, and so they signed me. Some of the conditions of my signing was I didn't do castings because I was out of the industry by that time. I figured a lot of people knew who I was, and so if they wanted to book me, they can book me without me having to do castings. If you have a platform and people know you have followers or whatever, I've had several brands kind of reach out to me. I won't take a brand just for taking a brand.
Right.
It would have to be something that I actually really believe in.
That aligns with your ethos.
Absolutely. So that's where I am right now.
They must not know about you. They must not know about you.
No, I you know what? I was that guy that was blessed I came into the modeling industry on my own terms. I was finished college, and I gave myself 2 years. I said, if at the end of 2 years, if I can't make a really good living on modeling, I wasn't going to be a model just to say I'm a model. I left when people were still booking me to do my restaurant, and I came back in because a deal was offered to me. But once that didn't work for me anymore, you know, it just was time to move on. And so I won't say that I won't do it or be with another agency, but it would have to be the right situation.
Right.
So, so in December with the art, you know, with the thing, there's a lot of good things have been happening with the art. I'm now represented by the Mackey Twin Gallery out of Mount Vernon. and they have some great artists that they represent. They have the Twins, they have James Denmark, Elizabeth Catlett, which is like a great group of artists to be in their presence. And I went out to Art Basel in December for Bridal Magazine, Spectacular Bride, and I had a show there with Art Sims, who actually is the artist that did all of the Spike Lee's posters and stuff like that for his movie. So we had a show out there. I'm going to be the featured artist at the African American Museum in Southampton this summer in July. They're putting all the press together for that right now.
You had a show there last summer, right?
So last summer I went out there and it was called Art and Soul. And actually the reason that I did do that show was because I realized that the woman, Brenda Sims, who founded the African American Museum in Southampton, was going to be at the show, and I wanted her to see my work. I fortunately did meet her. She actually loved my work and invited me to be the featured artist this summer.
Great.
And so it's going to be a big 4-day weekend, I believe, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And you know, my goal right now is to make submissions to museums. I have a woman that's a curator that's working with me right now and has actually submitted to some like 3 or 4 museums, and they've all been positive responses. They're just booked for the next 2 to 3 years. But in this time, that goes by so quickly, so I'm basically in queue for some of these places. Yeah.
Well, your work is beautiful, and it's definitely deserving of being on display in larger venues. So congrats to you, Mr. Alvin Clayton.
Yes, Miss Joy. and you know, I call you Joy.
Yes, you do.
Like they say, New York, all the greats deserve to be named twice.
You are far too kind.
No, I'm really proud of the stuff that you're doing, and you know, and that you're finally getting your flowers while you're here, because you've been in the industry for a long time and you've paid your dues, and I'm really happy to see you getting your due now as well, and honored to be with you.
Thank you, Alvin, for saying that, and you as well. And to those of us who have been around long enough to know Michael Jackson was on numerous covers of Right On magazines.
Right On.
Right On. And the fact that we're still here, check plus. So thank you guys for joining us for another episode of High Tea with Joy, where we brewed it, poured it, and spilled it, where great conversation is always in fashion. Till next time, watch and subscribe. Thank you.
Cut.